Welcome to the Dr. Jim Cares podcast with Dr. James Augustine, where we provide powerful solutions for helping you create wellness. The following discussion is for educational purposes only and is not meant to diagnose or treat disease. Because our approach is individualized, it's important to not apply this information without first consulting with your healthcare professional. And now, here's Dr. Jim.
Hey, welcome back to the Dr. Jim Cares podcast. My name is Dr. Augustine from Ahead to Wellness, and today we're going to be talking about heart health because February is Heart Health Month. Regardless of what month it is, you need to take care of your heart health. Now, disclaimer, important. This is not about treating heart disease, but about improving your heart health. Very important. And here's the issues. Heart disease is the number one killer today in America. It claims 697,000 deaths. That's a lot of deaths. One person every 34 seconds dies from cardiovascular disease. So it's a big deal. So today we're going to talk about three items: what causes heart disease, the testing that you actually should do, and then number three, how to improve your heart health. Because this would be nothing. My podcast, my videos would be nothing if I'm not telling you a way to help you out. Now the causes, let's start with number one, the causes. Now this is directly from the CDC. The causes, number one, diabetes and blood sugar problems. Now diabetes is the full-blown diagnostic disease. However, pre-diabetes insulin resistance still causes damage to your heart and blood vessels. And that's through testing we can know and see this. Number two item, obesity and being overweight. And if you just take a walk at the mall or go to Disneyland or something of that sort, you'll see that most everybody has an issue with weight today. Number three, unhealthy diet. Now that's a debatable topic, a controversial topic, but since this is my podcast, I'm going to tell you the truth. What the right healthy diet to do would be. So we're going to talk about that. How about physical activity? How much are you exercising out there? Are you running? Are you walking? Are you doing high intensity interval training, HIIT, things of that sort? Or are you not? You're a couch potato. So we need to get you encouraged to do some physical activity. Excessive alcohol use, and now it's really known that alcohol use of any kind and at any level, this is not my opinion, so don't beat me up for it. This is the science that says any level of alcohol use causes damage. What about smoking? It's not done as much today statistically. There's not as many people smoking, but smoking not only causes heart disease, but it causes lung cancer, as we know. Stress is at the center of every chronic illness that we can experience today. And you can have enough stress that will cause your blood vessels to tighten down and lock up, and guess what can happen? A heart attack. And then, of course, sleep. Another controversial topic is people say, I get enough sleep, I can function. Well, many of the times it's because you have to, but the research, the science on sleep is adults need 7 to 9 hours a day. So we'll talk more about sleep in a few minutes. Let's start now, break down each of these things. Let's start with testing. Let's talk about testing. Now, something from my perspective, and I want to give you the real perspective on how to really know what's going on with heart health for you. We have a test that's called an HSR, also known as the Heart Sound Recorder. What it does, it's a graph of your heart sounds. It graphs all four valves of your heart, your mitral valve, tricuspid, your atrial valve, and your pulmonary valve. And looking at this graph, and by the way, this technology has been around since the late 1930s, very, very much perfected. What this demonstrates really, it demonstrates full body physiology, but it's missing nutrients. Now, something that's also mainstream is that biochemistry that I've had, that medical doctors have had, it's the same biochemistry. It's dictated and run inside your body by nutrients. It's nutrient based. And yet, the unfortunate thing is in medical school, they're not taught much about nutrition at all whatsoever, unless they take a an extra course in it, but they really don't know much about nutrition whatsoever. So not a good place to really get a good understanding of nutrition. So HSR demonstrates B vitamin deficiencies, all sorts of wonderful things. It gives you full body physiology. Is your autonomic nervous system, do you have too much stress in your body? How is the function of your heart? There are two sounds that happen when your heart beats, and we call it S1 and S2. The S1 sound should be really tall. This S2 sound should be really small. There should be a large first sound, boom, and then a slight pause, and then a small second sound, and then a larger pause. And it should look this way, a very specific way in all four valves of your heart. What happens, though, with stress, you deplete your B vitamins with stress, and all of a sudden your first sound that's all squashed together and really tall gets squashed downwards and spread all apart. And imagine that the heart's a pretty darn important pump in your body, a very important pump that pumps blood out to everything, including your brain. If your heart's not pumping too well, you're going to have an impact. You're going to notice it in your body. You probably will be more physically tired. You probably won't sleep as well. You'll hear your heart beat. All of these things you may notice. But HSR is phenomenal, not to diagnose disease, but to help us provide back very targeted nutrients that will dramatically improve your heart function. Phenomenal testing. It's very, very straightforward, very, very black and white. Another test that we do, and especially, we do this particular testing, especially if a person has a history with blood sugar problems, whether it's prediabetes, diabetes, or body fat problems, weight problems, is called a coronary artery calcium score. Now, this is a very sophisticated CAT scan, CT scan of just your heart. And what it's doing, it's measuring the calcium content in your coronary arteries. You would know this as plaque in your arteries. And it can start, gosh, I've seen people in their 30s with plaque developing. Really good to know if your coronary arteries are being plaqued. And so we provide nutrients, very specific nutrients, to begin to pull that calcium content out. Really good thing. Usually after a year to 2 years to 3 years, you can see this completely change, which is wonderful. You do not want plaque in your coronary arteries because that's the blood supply to your heart. Especially the left main and the left anterior descending are major, major players because the left side of your heart pumps all the blood out to your entire body. It's a big deal. Coronary artery calcium score. This testing is $99 to do. Really, really great testing. And it's not invasive. They're not putting wires into you. It's literally just a CAT scan of just your heart. So not a big deal. Now, blood work. Number 3, blood work. And this is where people get all freaked out because everybody knows when they go to the doctor that, oh my gosh, my cholesterol's high. And the classic thing that happens is blood pressure will be high, cholesterol will be high, and they're going to be put on certain medications just in case. Just in case. High blood pressure medication, cholesterol lowering medication, and literally I think the number one best-selling medication today is cholesterol lowering medication called statin drugs. What we want to do, and this is what I would recommend because you're not going to hear this from your doctor, is we like to do several different blood tests that are really phenomenal. Really is going to give you a better picture from a blood work perspective. So if you could write these down, it'd be very helpful for you, and you can ask your doctor for them. And if your doctor won't do them, I will do them for you. It's not pricey, it's not expensive. You want a fasting insulin, because your insulin is the major, major problem, is when your insulin spikes up and your insulin's always high, that's what creates bad physiology in your body, such as affecting your cholesterol in a bad way. Now, cholesterol is made by your liver, sent out by your liver, LDL cholesterol, the supposed bad cholesterol, to go put out inflammation and heal tissue in your body. This is true. The problem can be if your insulin's high, there's another part of doing, because we like to do cholesterol. So let me go through the testing one more time. I didn't tell you all of them, so I don't want to you don't want to miss this. So we do fasting insulin, C-peptide, the lipids, right, all the blood fats, the cholesterol, triglycerides, HDL, LDL, all that. But this is what needs to be included, the the particle size and the pattern. So pattern A or pattern B. Also, C-reactive protein with high sensitivity to heart. CRP it's called. Homocysteine is another one. Fasting blood glucose, and then of course your hemoglobin A1C. Notice that we're talking about things that have to do with blood sugar, because if your blood sugar and your insulin are high, you are going to develop heart disease. This damages your heart and your blood vessels. Not a good thing. Now let's talk about each of these. Fasting insulin, really critical, like I was saying. It's at the crux and causal level of just about every chronic and terrible illness that we can run into, and that's high insulin. C-peptide is a measurement of how well your pancreas is secreting insulin right at the level of the beta cells. And so if your C-peptide's high, it means your pancreas is stressed, your insulin's going to be high too. The lipids, the cholesterol, we do those, but the particle size and pattern, that's critical. So there's pattern A and pattern B. Pattern A is the good, big, fluffy particles. You'd love lots of pattern A. Pattern B, just to remember this, is the bad. Pattern B, bad. It's the small, dense particles that can wedge their way in between the cells that line your blood vessels, including your heart. And the tissue in there, it's a skin tissue called endothelium. So pattern B, and guess what will help your liver or make your liver to make more pattern B cholesterol will be high insulin, which is why we're talking about, we need to know about insulin. Now, C-reactive protein, it's an inflammatory marker that's definitely involved with heart attacks and strokes. High levels of C-reactive protein for long periods of time, you are moving and increasing your risks pretty dramatically of heart disease. Homocysteine. Now, homocysteine is a problem because it's another inflammatory marker that's also associated with heart attack and stroke. But it can also be because you're missing the active form of the B vitamin, and that's called L-methylfolate or folic acid. The inactive form is called folic acid. The active form is called L-methylfolate. And L-methylfolate, some people have a genetic SNP, a genetic problem that they can't convert and turn folic acid into the active form. And hence what that happens is that quenches and gets rid of your homocysteine. What we like to do is give either the active form, the L-methylfolate, or try a food-based B vitamin that's actually made out of food, and it's not the synthetic fractionated chemicalized B vitamins that you can see in the markets and GNC and stuff you can order from Amazon. But actually, this will work to get rid of your homocysteine levels. Fasting glucose and hemoglobin A1C, those two can be high because you're obviously ingesting too much carbohydrates, starch, sugar, things of that sort. So starch and sugar and alcohol, by the way, which is liquid sugar to your body, it beats up your liver, cholesterol goes up, so the problem starts. And who doesn't love starch and sugar, bread and potatoes and rice and fruit, cakes, cookies, crackers, soda, all that stuff. I love it too. And it's funny, not funny, that's a bad term. It's interesting that they've done brain studies, brain imaging scans. A person that their brain image scan that's on cocaine looks exactly like the person who is on sugar. Sugar is massively addictive. And some people will not change their diet. They say they're doing it. I don't eat starch. I don't eat sugar anymore. But they're eating boatloads of starch, and starch is a big problem. Why? Because it's hundreds, if not thousands, of glucose molecules sitting there, strung together, hand in hand. And as soon as it hits your enzymes, bread, in your mouth and in your stomach, it splits all that apart, and you get this massive blast of sugar in your blood. Another great tool to use, I really recommend this, is a continuous glucose monitor, a CGM. Wonderful you can measure your glucose 1,000 times a day. And why is this so good? Is you can test all of your foods that you love to eat to see if your sugar skyrockets. Amazing technology. It's a bit pricey. If you can get your doctor to prescribe it, that would be best, because then it can be paid for by insurance. But there's a company out there called NutriSense that you can sign up for. It's kind of pricey, for for like 3 or 4 months of this, it's like $350, $400 to do this. But it's cheaper than a heart attack and suffering from a heart attack and trying to recover, if you can recover. So continuous glucose monitoring, really, really good, because you can tell, gosh, is this cup of coffee going to jack up my blood sugar? What should, I just put honey in it. Honey is the natural sweetener. No, it's sugar. Sugar to your body. So you can know, and you can test yourself and know how to change and tweak your diet, which is be spectacular. So now that's the testing. Now let's get to the solution side of things, because that's what I love. This is the part that you really want to take notice of. Now, I'm going to get some hate for this, but I don't care, because I want to tell you the truth and what's really going to work to get you out of this hole. Because again, heart disease, #1 killer still. Dietary. Your diet must change. If you don't change your diet, it's like this fire's raging and you keep adding fuel to the fire will never go out, which is damaging your heart and blood vessels. I just saw a person this morning who had a stroke, multiple strokes, and she's in a chair and she can't function well. Her arms and legs don't work, and she's been stuck. So now we're trying to fix that, and guess what? History of blood sugar issues, even smoking too. So kind of a problem there. Dietary changes. So what I recommend, the ketogenic diet minimally. Ketogenic diet minimally, ideally carnivore. Carnivore is a subdivision of the ketogenic diet. And why is that so significant is because you're taking the starch and sugar out of your diet. There's no way around it. If you're going to do lots of starch and sugar, you're going to have problems eventually with your heart and blood vessels. Plain and simple. Carnivore is so great because it's animal protein, animal fat, salt, some fish oils, and electrolytes and water. That's it. So guess what? None of those will spike your insulin. None of those will raise your blood sugar. And you will have such a dramatic change in your health, especially in your cardiovascular health. It's amazing. Red meat doesn't cause problems. Red meat isn't bad, isn't the cause of your heart disease. Eating saturated fat is not at the causal level of that as well. It's actually showing in the current science that saturated fat is actually essential for you. It's super good for you. It's always been, if you want to put body fat on your body, which no one does, eat starch and sugar and drink soda and drink sugar. It will raise that. Eat lots of honey and fruit. Oh, well, that's natural sugar. It doesn't matter. It's sugar is sugar is sugar to your body. It's going to cause the same problems. You need to remove all the sugar and starch out of your diet. By doing that, it's going to make a massive impact on your body. Fat's essential, essential fatty acids. Protein, essential, essential amino acids for your body. Really, really important. Dietary change, critical. Targeted nutrients, and here, I want write these nutrients down because it's important. First one, vitamin B4. Now, you could look that up. You're not going to find much on it at all because vitamin B4 is only in food-based B vitamins. And there are certain nutrients that you might need, but I just recommend, and this is how I use, where I get vitamin B4 is through a company called Standard Process, oldest vitamin company on the planet, and it's whole food concentrates. And vitamin B4 is in their Cataplex B Core, C-O-R-E. That gives you great vitamin B4. It's going to tremendously change and improve your heart function. Cardiotrophin PMG is another one from Standard Process, and it's the protomorphogen for your heart. So therefore, maybe you've heard of this, and people are doing this these days, is they're eating organ meats, such as heart and such as liver. Tons of concentrated nutrients in that, food-based nutrients that we need. Cardiotrophin, you could take it in a supplement. If you don't want to eat those organ meats, you could take cardiotrophin in a supplement. It's a tablet. Definitely will help heart function. Food-based potassium, also important. If you get too much potassium, it can cause irregular heartbeats. Too little potassium can cause irregular heartbeats. So you want it in a food-based form, which would make a huge difference because it can calm down those irregular heartbeats. Tremendously important. So look, what this list is nutrient deficiencies. Okay, so far we got vitamin B4, cardiotrophin PMG, food-based potassium. Next one, CoQ10. CoQ10, really important for heart health. And what depletes CoQ10 is if you're taking a statin drug. Lipitor and atorvastatin, all the statin drugs deplete your body of CoQ10, puts you at risk for heart attack. Not good. So CoQ10 would be essential for heart function. Phosphorus. Phosphorus is the energy mineral, and that can have a really nice balancing act if you have a tendency to put plaque in places. So for instance, if you have any history of like kidney stones, gallbladder stones, cataracts in your eyes, not good. You need to be using a phosphorus. And again, Standard Process makes a product called Phosfood Liquid, and it tastes lemony. You put a few drops or a little squirt, a dropper in about 3 or 4 ounces of water, boom, shoot it down, and it helps keep your calcium phosphorus ratio in the blood balanced so that you're not depositing excess calcium in bad places, such as your heart. Magnesium, everybody's heard about magnesium. Is such a spectacular mineral, very calmative. People will do magnesium baths called Epsom salts, great thing, but taking it orally helps your heart. Excuse me, helps your heart. Another important nutrient is vitamin K2. The MK7 fraction deals with calcium metabolism in your body really, really well. And you can also take that with vitamin D, another good thing to take. So it affects calcium metabolism in a big way. Now, fish oil. Fish oil is another great thing because in our diets, if you're eating the standard American diet, which is garbage, absolute garbage, we have a ratio in our blood of omega-6s to omega-3s. The average American is 20 omega-6s to 1 omega-3 fish oil. Ideally, it needs to be 1-to-1 ratio. If it's not, it creates problems. So we want to add in fish oil. It's also fish oil is very anti-inflammatory. It also provides great DHA, part of fish oil that's really important for brain health. So phenomenal fish oil. Also has a very gentle blood thinning effect on people. So we want that good ratio, that 1-to-1 ratio. Now, what about exercise? Let's talk about that. Exercise, walking minimally. You should be walking every day. And it's nice to get outside, get some sunshine, because that's another part of this is you want good sunshine. Sunshine helps your vitamin D levels, calms you, relaxes you. It raises your serotonin levels, which at night will be converted into melatonin to help you sleep more. Good things. Exercise. Another thing is if you're more athletically inclined, is you can do sprints. Sprinting or high intensity interval training, also really good, but you also want to start slow and work your way up, because one thing that they found in the elite athletes that maybe were in the Olympics years and years ago that ran endurance races and things of that sort, as they're getting into their 50s, 60s, and 70s, now they have chronic disease such as diabetes and heart problems because the left side of their heart is too thick. It's called left ventricular hypertrophy. And imagine the thickness of that tends to narrow and shrink the size of the left ventricle. You can't hold as much blood in there. Therefore, your heart has to work faster and harder to pump out the same amount of blood. Problem. So scar tissue and left ventricular hypertrophy for excess running. So that's why high intensity interval training or sprints, really, really good. Really good for you. And what about stress? I always talk about stress because it's involved with 100% of the time in all chronic illness, including heart disease. So adrenal support would be good, and calmative adrenal support. Thing I love is ashwagandha. Calms you, relaxes you, and therefore decreases cortisol and dilates your blood vessels' tendency to do that, which is great. Liver work. Liver. Eating liver, that's the kind of the rage today. Eating liver, whether it's some people are doing raw liver, or you can eat liver if you like it. You could take a desiccated liver supplement, which would be good. Another couple of supplements, Livaplex is really good from Standard Process. Also Livton. And why your liver? Because that will affect your blood pressure as well as your cholesterol levels. Right? That's supposed to be associated with heart disease. So if we support your liver to do good things, give it what it needs to function normally, it's going to have a great impact on you. Vitamin D, we talked about vitamin D, so it's essential for just about everything going on in your body. And then sleep. Lack of sleep puts stress on your body, puts stress on your heart, and it definitely affects you. And adults need 7 to 9 hours of sleep a night to function optimally. So first and foremost, please start with the testing. Please start with the testing so that you know what to do, because everybody's different. Then progress slowly in the rest of these things, and you will make a major impact on your heart health. So if you need help with your heart health, please let me know. I'd love to help you out. Contact me. My email address is draugustine@gmail.com. You can call my office is 562-860-3404. If you like this content, please subscribe and give me a like there as well. That'd be great. I'm also on podcasts. I'm on Apple and Spotify as well as Google Podcasts. Same thing. I'd love it if you subscribed and liked my stuff there. That'd be great. Social media, I'm on Instagram, TikTok, as well as YouTube. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you all next week. Bye for now.
Thanks for joining us on your journey to wellness. Join us next time for more information and education about your health. And feel free to contact Dr. Jim on social media or at his office, Ahead to Wellness in Buena Park, California.